Hey, gang. Let me try something. I'm going to try this. So it's 7 o'clock, and I said I was going to go live. I noticed my monitor is awfully bright. Let's see if I can modify that slightly. Um, hmm. Nope. Oh, I do not. Hold on. Hey, what about Bob? What's going on? Hey, King's Disaster. Yep. It's a vintage 67 t-shirt, or at least my vintage. So I got 11 people watching. That's cool. I'm going to try to do this again. I'm working on this stuff. I'm not real tech savvy. Hope the sound is working okay. Kind of hard to tell. Uh-oh. I don't know what's going on. Looks like my stream health is not that good. That's true. First year for the Camaro. Let me see if I can. I don't know why that's going on. Hey, Glenn. Good. Okay, good. Glad to hear that, Bob. I'm still learning as I go on this stuff, and for some reason it's saying my stream health is not very good. I don't know why. I've been working on a new setup. So what's everybody up to tonight? Hopefully this is still working. I don't know. Man. Hey, Jeff. I don't know why this is causing me problems. I don't know how to fix it. Is it streaming okay, or is it all over the place? Okay. Thanks, Tim. Because on my feed, it's showing it is not feeding very well on stream health. It's actually showing red, and it's saying that might be some buffering. Yes, please hit the like button. Appreciate that. King's Disaster Garage. Tim, did you get your garage cleaned out? Get that bench built? Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. There's got to be a way to dim my monitor, but um, I don't know how to do that. try this again. See if that helps. No, that's not good. Is it? Is that any better? I can't. Now I can't see anything. I am not a tech guy. I'm telling you right now. Well, it's better, but the same thing with it darkening the screen, it makes it harder to read the questions on the chat. Thanks, Jim. So bear with me. Looks like the Twilight Zone. The backdrop is actually a flag. I had several flags made up, and King's Disaster is asking about the backdrop. This is a flag that I had made up, and I've got several of them, and so I plan on giving some away at some point. Someday I might try to sell them. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But thanks for asking. So what's everybody up to tonight? Anybody got some good questions for me? I get a little nervous when I don't see anything pop up on the screen. It makes me wonder if people are really there or if the thing is working correctly. And of course, I'm watching myself on my own video, so the timing is off. It's not immediate, but that's to be expected. I will say that I got the bumper back from the powder coater, and I installed it on the truck. And I will do a little follow-up video on that later. Just want to let you know that that's going on. King's Disaster, I do not. It was the flag was made by a friend of mine who does kind of charity work that has to do with the Spartan racing organizations that I'm in. And he sells stuff as a fundraiser for different things. I could probably find out, but at this point I don't have an answer for that. Jeff Wall, how can you rebuild a 70 Stang convertible trunk lid? Well, Jeff, that's a good question. It's hard to say without seeing the trunk lid and knowing exactly what's wrong with it. When you say rebuild, is it rusted out? Is it bent? That's kind of a tough question to answer. Jim, when are you going back to the 68 Stang? That's a good question too. I've got to keep chugging away on the convertible. So I'm trying to decide at some point whenever I start getting closer to getting the Brooklyn Pony into primer, and I'll need to let that primer set. That may give me a window to do some other things, some other sheet metal work, whether it's on the basket case Camaro or on the 68 Mustang. I don't know yet, but I'm hoping that I can get to that point and be able to maybe squeeze in some time there. But you never know. Let's see. Jeff, you're asking me about frame rust on a deck lid. That almost sounds like you need to replace that thing if it's available. Have I used POR 15, Glenn? I have used POR 15. When I rebuilt the Model A, the 31 Model A, and I have a couple of videos on here of that car, I coated the entire floor pan, the inside of the door or panels, everything inside the car was coated with POR 15. Now, of course, that car doesn't get out in the weather, but it's it's doing its job, I suppose. Other than that, I haven't really used it much in many locations. Leonard, what's the best way to align doors? That's a really good question. Um, I've posted some videos. I think if you go back to the light blue 65 Mustang, I actually posted some videos on the sequence of that, and I explain how the doors, you can pivot it in and out. You can move the door up and down, and you can move it. I should say you can move it inboard and outboard, and there's of course with the hinges, the bolts in the front, you can tilt back and forth. So ideally, you want to have what we call the reveal, which is where the door gap on the bottom is, how that matches in relation to the quarter panel. Now that's your main thing, but you might want to look at those videos and see if those can't give you some advice or input. It's kind of hard to explain on this kind of video, but I do have some videos out there showing those adjustments. JR Board, I'm stripping my 67 Mustang. What primer should I use on bare metal? I'm just going to tell you use epoxy. If you're stripping it all the way down, bare metal everywhere, even if you're sandblasting or whatever, use epoxy primer. And that'll seal everything up, and then you can build up from there with your fillers or any kind of other primers on top of that. So I would definitely do epoxy primer. So what else is going on? And Jeff, if you're still on there, if you want to send me some pictures to joedaddy'sgarage@gmail.com, I can at least take a look and see what's going on with that that deck lid, and maybe give you some better advice. But without seeing it, I can't really give you good advice. Oh, my dogs are barking. Oh, my stream health is green now, so that's good. Yeah, Raymond, yes, epoxy primer is the best for bare metal. Looking forward to a blooper video, maybe involving a plasma cutter. That would be interesting. I do have some bloopers saved from various videos over the years, but I think when I start editing, I tend to forget to save some of that stuff, and I just delete it. And so there's a couple things that I've saved over the years, but I need to do a better job of making or saving some of that stuff. A lot of the videos I make, if I make a mistake, if I'm saying something, or if I want to get some information shared and I forget to say it the right way, or I don't use the right words, I'll probably just right there delete that segment and just start over. So typically I don't hang on to the bloopers very much. What is Jim is asking, what is the best way to strip the inside of a hood / trunk lid? Well, that's a good question. I've used various things. I've used sandpaper on a DA to get all the flat surfaces. I've used Scotch-Brite on a 2-inch Scotch-Brite wheel on a sanding disc. There are some things that are used in the aircraft industry that are, I call them finger wheels. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's basically just looks like the size of a sanding disc, but it has a whole bunch of little fingers sticking out of it, and that'll get into those tight corners. I don't know if that's even available in the automotive market, but in the aircraft industry, that's available. And other than that, just sandpaper and getting your fingers in there and sanding stuff off as you go. That's about all I can say on that. Oh, you had a mouse in your trunk lid, Jeff. Yeah, that doesn't sound very good. That means there's a lot of stuff that has caused it to rot. Sounds like you just want to replace it. Hey, Michael, from PA. What part of PA you from? Glenn Williams, do you ever use single stage paint? I have not sprayed single stage paint. Back when we had the body shop and everything we used was, base clear. And I think my partner at that time had sprayed some single stage, and it was a real industrial type of paint designed for semi trucks, and it was more durable. And I believe that was the only single stage that I remember us spraying. Oh, they don't make a 70 vert trunk lid, Jeff. I didn't know that. That seems odd. They don't make a 70 vert. Well, I guess, yeah. I guess there should be a difference between that and a coupe, but I guess I haven't researched that, so that kind of surprises me. Do you know if there's a Jeff? If do you know if is it a difference in length or something? Oh, Northeast, Michael, Northeast PA. So you're up in, let's see, what is that area called? I've been up there before at an amusement park somewhere up there. Can't remember the name of it. Leonard's asking, I've got rust in the quarter panel at the door edge. How far would you cut to get it out? Rust in the quarter at the door edge. So it's the forward corner that rolls into the door jamb. Okay. That's a good question, Leonard. I can't really, again, that's kind of tricky without seeing it. I assume you're not planning on replacing the full quarter if you're just looking at sectioning it out. Again, without seeing it, I can't really tell you how far you need to go. But obviously, you want to get all the rust out. So if you're doing a section, go as far as you need to. But more than likely, depending on if you have rust at the door edge, you sure don't have it down at the rocker and anywhere else, because that may suggest that you need to replace the whole quarter. Oh, so Jeff, you're saying they only have fastback trunk lids. That's interesting. I did not know that. Of course, I haven't worked on. I've only worked on 170 Mustang, so and it was a complete car, and so I put floor pans in that car, the cowl, did some modifications to the front fenders. There's videos on that car, but that's not going to help you in this situation. I wonder if there's. That's kind of surprising. Nobody makes a trunk lid for that car. So what else is going on? I know you're out there. You got 25 people watching. Yeah, Jeff, it's possible. Hello, High Tech. How are you tonight? Yeah, Jeff, I don't know if you could find maybe a standard deck lid and section out the bad part. I don't know. I'd have to see the comparison between the two to really make a judgment on that. So it's it's not been the best of weeks so far for me, and nothing major. At least I hope not. I got pulled over for, let's say, going too fast, and so that put a damper on my day. I was returning from picking up the bumper for Frankentruck, and had so many things on my mind, and I wasn't paying attention, and managed to get pulled over. So that didn't help my day out very much. And then what was it? Oh, I ordered some parts for uh, an old Shopsmith machine that I have, and I received one, and then I received a package that was oh, hi Jake. Uh, Received a package that was, the end was ripped out. So part of the whatever shipment they sent me was gone, and so I'm dealing with that. And then I went to the grocery store and bought some stuff yesterday, only to find out when I got home that some of the items that I had bought ended up in somebody else's cart, and I had to go back to the store, and it was just one thing after another, and it's just been, this whole week has been like that for me. Michael John, getting ready to put a Cal in a 69 Cougar. They sell top and bottom together. Would you recommend separating them to put them in? You know, Michael, I would say you have to look at it from the perspective of what's this car going to be doing. In other words, when they built these cars originally, they didn't put any kind of treatment inside of those things, and they, moisture and junk got into cowls and would rust stuff out. The modern replacements, they should be EDP coated, I believe. Hopefully you got the black coating on there, and that coating is going to be inside and out. Now, it's pretty durable, but I don't know what the life expectancy is based on UV protection or anything like that. However, if you're not going to be taking this car out and sitting it under a pine tree for the next 20 years, you probably don't need to take it apart. I probably wouldn't. I would, if it has a coating on it, I would leave it together, get it installed, and then paint it. Paint the assembly. You could get they make in the collision industry, you have to recoat the inside of like rocker panels. So they make this wand that you can put on the end of a gun and spray material inside of a rocker panel. As you pull it out, it sprays in kind of a fan. You could consider doing something like that to coat the inside of that cowl if you really wanted to. But again, I look at it as, this thing's not going to be, you're probably not going to park it outside, or at least not not covered up at some, the bulk of the time. And so I would probably just leave it. Don Smith, my full cowl for my 70 was weld through primer, but you can get inside them better than 65 to 68 and coat them inside pretty good. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, that wand, Classic Ride Society is pointing out, that wand is available through Eastwood. And it's pretty handy. There's different lengths. I know, you could buy whatever lengths, but I think they make them in different lengths. And it may be even possible you could use a different type of different type of wand and just attach the tip. I don't know for sure, but that may be a way to make that spray the inside of that. Good tip, Classic. Thank you. Four days. Mr. Fireman 164 just went through this with new Camaro sheet metal. They were EDP coated after assembly, and there was plenty of surface rust between the panels. Interesting. Hey, 265 Chevy, everything is good here. Yeah, and it's definitely getting warm. It's been actually probably close to 80 degrees today here in Georgia. I know it's been well over 70. So yeah, things are picking up, and I'm liking it. Jeff Wall. Too funny. My vert was restored once in 1998 when a guy parked it under a tree for 17 years. The tires cracked. It sat on its frame for 12 plus years. What a shame. Lots of work. Yeah, I don't understand people. I mean, I've said before, I grew up, my dad had a junkyard, and, you're going to have cars that are wrecked and cars that have been sitting forever and rotting into the ground and different things like that. But, you see it so many times, people have this connection with a car, whether it belonged to a relative or something they got when they were younger, and they hang on to it. And I know right now, not 400 yards from my house is I think it's either 65 or 6. I didn't want to say it's a 6. Anyway, Mustang Coupe, V8 automatic, and it has been there probably 20 years, sitting in the driveway, 4 flat tires, pine needles piled up on top of this thing. And when it was first parked there, it was a decent looking car. And I know I've asked at least once, maybe twice, and they won't sell it. They say, "Oh, I'm going to fix it up one day." No, you're not. I know that for a fact. Jim Seckler, is there a specific coating or paint color that you use for the underside of a car? Not really. It can vary depending on what panels you're putting in. As an example, I'm doing the Brooklyn Pony. It's got well-through primer on it. And I will talk about this a little bit. I did an experiment. I took lacquer thinner and I tried to wipe some of that stuff off. It didn't budge. So there have been other people that in other things that I've talked about, or I've talked to people and they said, "Oh, clean off all that well-through primer." I don't think that's a good idea. If it's not going to come off with lacquer thinner, there's no sense in trying to get it off of there. Plus, it's all over in the nooks and crannies and crevices of the panel. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scuff all of the bottom of that car and spray it most likely with epoxy to help, again, add more sealant to it. And then I've been provided with lizard skin, and I will follow the lizard skin recommendations. If it calls for something else, I will do something else. But my intent is to coat it with lizard skin, and that also get used in other parts of the car. Now, other cars that I've done had just EDP coated panels. So I've welded those in, blended everything, used self-etch and different things like that. And I have sprayed those with epoxy afterwards, and then just use a basic undercoating. Of course, now this is in Georgia. This is where the cars aren't going to see the weather conditions in a lot of other states. So just a sprayable undercoating seems to work pretty well, and it holds up pretty good. I wanted to point out, I did a video or a little segment on that spray. It's that commercial, I can't think of the name, where the guy cuts that boat in half and then he sprays the sealant and tapes it all back together. I did a little experiment on that 65 coupe that's sitting, or what's left of that 65 coupe sitting in front of my garage, and that stuff is still holding up incredible. And no fade to it. The color's holding up, and it's just been out in the weather this whole time. So I might consider doing something like that to one of my cars. Just spray that thing with that coating and let it get into all the cracks and everything. Hope that was helpful. Classic Ride Society. Freezing rain here. Pulling parts in the salvage yard sucks like this. Dallas, Texas. Yep, I won't argue with that one bit. Flex Seal, that's it. Don Smith got it. Classic Ride, Flex Seal, got it. Jeff Bricker. Hi, your videos are great. You are very talented in building 67 coupes, supercharged 408W. I'm going to assume that's a Windsor, and 9-inch Ford. Man, that sounds awesome. That sounds really awesome. Are you doing any kind of videos on it or anything like that? I'd like to see pictures, if nothing else. And you can email me, joedaddysgarage@gmail.com. Send me some pictures. I'd love to see it. I have people send me pictures of cars, and I have people ask me questions, and I try to answer, but I can as best I can. I found question from a week ago, and I was like, oh, did I respond to this guy? And then I did. So I don't know if he got the response back yet. Charles Wilson Peel, lizard skin and sound control. Yeah, lizard skin is going to be the primary sound deadener. That's kind of the idea, and to weatherproof it. So hopefully that works out. Jeff Wall, what are your thoughts on the Ford Bosch 302 crate engine? Sorry, little misspelling there, but I get it. I don't really have many thoughts on it. I haven't looked at them, and I mean, I don't know. I haven't read any reviews on any of that stuff. So, but that may be what ends up in the Brooklyn Pony, where I think that's what the owner is leaning towards. So, that's about all I can tell you on that. Sorry. Jeff, no videos. Bought it back in the Marines. Hoorah. I was Army, so I have to say hooah. But I will say hoorah for you. And send some pics. Cool. I like pics. You could also send them on my Facebook. I have a Joe Daddy's Garage Facebook page. So if you want to send them there too. Either way, that works fine. And you know, I still have stickers. So I don't know who. I know I give out a bunch of these things, but and I'll have to order some more. So, and if you haven't seen that, you know, I did that video where the stickers were all over the world, and so I'm looking to do another round of that. And you know, people take the picture with the sticker in front of their car or on a toolbox or something. And so if you're interested, let me know, and we can probably work something out. Okay, Jeff. Yeah, and the consideration on that might be, he's talking about putting a fuel injection on it. So I don't know which fuel injection system, or if it'll be a crate engine with everything already on it. I don't know. I know you asked. You said Ford. I don't know if you're talking about Ford crate engine, but this will probably be from Summit. So Leonard Gilbreth. One more question. My 73 Gran Torino has rust in the cowl, and what is the best sandblasting grit to use? Rust in the cowl on a 73 Gran Torino. That doesn't sound like fun at all. I really doubt they make replacement panels for that. As far as sandblasting, I don't really want to recommend anything. If you're talking about yourself doing it, there's probably, hey, there's Double R. Good to see you, man. Or good to see you're here. But as far as sandblasting, I don't have a good grit number to give you. You know, if you're having it blasted by a professional, they should be able to give you some information on that. I've used sand. It's just like play sand. I've used that before. I've used in my sandblasting cabinet. I can't think of what it's called, but it's kind of a black grit sanding media or blasting media that I picked up from Harbor Freight, and it works pretty well, at least in the blast cabinet. But I don't have that number or information for you. So, what's up, Double R? You should be working on a Camaro, shouldn't you? Yep. Oh, just pitting. Okay. Leonard says it's not bad, just pitting. Okay. Yeah, Black Diamond. There you go. 265 Chevy says Black Diamond. That sounds like a reasonable answer. I believe that's what I was looking for. So I'm trying to remember what I know I've seen. Lost my thought. So if you have, hey, Double R Restorations is on here right now, and if you haven't seen any of his videos, you need to check him out. He's rebuilding a early 70s Camaro. I don't remember the exact year model, but he's going all through this thing, and he's finding problems, fixing problems, and he goes through a lot of detail work on how he's fixing it, and little, if there's a problem, he's figuring it out. So yeah, 72 Camaro. You need to check him out. Double R Restoration. You'll see it. And let's see. Classic Ride says the blasting media is cheaper at Northern Tool, better prices than Harbor Freight on blast media. No, that's probably true. I don't know. For me, it's convenient for Harbor Freight because I have one not 10 minutes from my house, and the nearest Northern is probably 45 minutes away from me. And so for me, it's just convenient to go to Harbor Freight. But yeah, soda blasting would be great if you have somebody that can do that. Because that's a lot less invasive, less heat. And so you may want to consider that if you're looking at options. If you have anybody who does, there's my dog's barking. I don't know what they're barking at, but I'm not going to worry about it. So, yeah, like I was saying though, check out Double R Restorations. He's got some really cool videos on there, and lots of detail. Good guy. Telstar Light. How hard is it to replace 8793 notchback Mustang rear quarter panels? That's a good question. I actually had a friend. I haven't done one of those quarters, but I have a friend who has done it, and I don't know if you're talking. He did it with a. He bought a cutaway of a car and separated the panel and put it back in, so it was a factory original piece. And there's lots of spot welds on that thing, I will say that. But I have not done that on an 87 93 notchback. Generally, if I'm doing something like that, though, you kind of do, search out the spot welds and get them separated, and replicate that when you put it back in. That's really the best I can tell you, because without seeing one in front of me or having done one, I can't give you a really solid answer on that. Jeff Bricker. Oh, okay. Are you a fan of the Borgeson steering box conversion? I believe I saw a video of you putting in a 66 Mustang, thinking about it from a 67 Mustang. Actually, Jeff, that Borgeson kit is in my 68 Coupe, and I was pretty pleased with it. The only conflict I had was making it interact with my vintage air system that I was putting in, and I go through detail on that as how I modified the spacers and different things to make everything line up properly. But yeah, the Borgeson kit, I don't think you can beat it. It's pretty simple, and other than having to deal with that bracket system that I had, for my vintage air, it's a pretty easy bolt on. The hardest part may be swapping the pitman arm. If you have a puller, you're going to need to use that to get that arm off of there. So, but so far, and I haven't, really driven the car. I've driven up and down my street, but I do like the setup. I will say the only thing I'm going to have to adjust is the length of the return hose, only because of the shock tower, the hoses are close to the headers. And so either I'm going to have to shield those in some way or get a longer return hose, and because the pressure hose is a little bit longer anyway, and get those out of the way somehow. So that's something I'm going to have to play with. 265 Chevy, how far back is the Camaro on your list? That's a good question, and I wish I had a great answer. I do want to get back on that car, and I'm gonna have to readjust some priorities here in the next year or so. We'll see how things go once I get this the Brooklyn Pony together, I still have a Chevelle coming, but I might be able to get some done on that Camaro. I'd like to get at least some of the parts on the car so they're not taking up space in various parts of the shop and my storage buildings. So, yeah, I would love to have that further along. Let's put it that way. It's supposed to, I believe it's either 68 or 69 Chevelle. I want to say 68 though, and belongs to a friend of mine. And it was his dad's car that he bought new, and his dad has passed, but he has a Chevelle, and it's a 396 4-speed car, and it's a kind of a maroon color, and he wants me to go through it and put it back together and get it back on the road for him. So that's supposed to be the next car on the list, and that's after the Brooklyn Pony's done. Dave asks, ever work on imports? I have a 280Z, very fun to work on, but body parts can be hard to find. Yes, they can. I actually, at the body shop, we built I think it was a 280Z. Yeah, it wasn't a 260. It was a 280. And I had to rebuild the right rear quarter on that car by hand because there was no parts for it. And I remember it was crunched, and I had a lot of work to do to get that car straightened out. And then it was painted with, I think it was painted with PPG Vibrance, I think, which is that diamond dust paint. I think. I know we did a Camaro that way, but I was thinking this 280Z was like that. Looks really sharp. I noticed some pictures of it somewhere, but I don't have them in front of me, obviously. Classic Ride Society. My first car was a '67 Malibu. You're a lucky man. I can tell you that. My first car that my dad gave me to drive was I think it was a '74 AMC Matador. I was styling. 4 doors, and it was painted with a roller and brushes, I think. I think the top half of the car was black and the bottom half was green, and it had a plaid green interior in it. The ladies were digging it. No. I think it barely got out of its own way. All right, Jeff. Yeah. Let's see. You said you ordered the Borgeson kit today. Last question. In your opinion, is a aluminum drive shaft worth the extra money for a vintage Mustang, or just go with steel? I would just go with steel. Honestly, it's cool to say it's got an aluminum drive shaft, but unless you're racing it or really concerned with saving a couple pounds or whatever it is, I don't think there's much advantage at all. The steel is just steel. I mean, it's not going anywhere. So, me personally, I wouldn't spend the money on an aluminum drive shaft. I would stick with the steel. Yeah, Dave. Matador was a chick magnet. Yeah, now you know why I'm into body work, Jeff. Yeah, the funny part was, where I grew up, there was a certain area that had what we called the jump, and it was basically a tunnel where there was a railroad overpass, and it had a hump in the middle of it. So it had this big tunnel, but it had a hump in the middle of it. And so I'm not saying I did this to all the cars, but I would take if I hit 55 or 60 miles an hour before I got to that hump, I could get airborne and travel a little distance and then land. And the Matador almost got to 55 miles an hour. And when I went over the jump, it did get airborne. And when I landed, it didn't have any exhaust anymore. And when I got it home that night, my dad heard me pulling in, and he said, "What's going on?" And I told him the exhaust fell off the car, and he said, "Well, junk it." So it ended up in the junkyard. um, 265 Chevy. I have a 68 Chevelle. Can't wait for that build. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun build. It'll be interesting because I've done so many Fords or so many Mustangs. It'll be, a good change of pace, I think, to get on the on a Chevelle. Run for ST. What would you be looking for when getting a shop to do a lift kit on a truck? Not used to paying someone to work on my stuff, but bad back. That's a good question. Are you talking about a body lift or suspension lift? I hope you're not referring to a body lift. I'm not a fan of body lifts. Um, as far as suspension lifts, you have to figure out, without knowing what kind of truck you have or anything like that, do some research on them, read reviews, and find something that fits your needs. It's kind of hard to. Okay, yeah, suspension. It's kind of hard to give a good opinion on that. You got Skyjacker and these different companies, and that have been producing these things for years. But if there's most of them are the same. Either they do a extension of some sort, or a reformed control arms or whatever it is, or leaf springs, deeper arch on them. You have to kind of just research and read reviews on what's out there. Rancho and like I said, Skyjacker, and there's a variety of companies out there, but it's kind of hard to give you a good solid answer on that without a lot more information. So. I don't know if I mentioned it or not. I did get the bumper on Franken truck, and it looks pretty good. It makes the truck look so much different now, being in black, that I have to get used to it myself, because I've seen it for so long without a bumper, and now that it's on and painted, I have to readjust how it appears in my mind. Run for ST. I have the shocks, add a leaf. Just wondering what are some things to look for in a shop. Not many do that in my area. That's a hard question to answer, because there's so many shops here in the South that there are people that do that kind of stuff. There's Four Wheel and Off-Road Center up in Marietta, I think, Georgia, that does that sort of thing. And then there's just a whole bunch of smaller shops, but it's really hard to give you an answer. If you can find a shop that has a bunch of four-wheel drive sitting around that they've done, or you can look at somebody who may work there who's done work on their truck at that location, that may be some insight for you. But it's really hard to give you a good solid answer on that. Sorry about that. So what else is going on? I have other stories too, by the way, about cars. Oh, run for, you struggle with trusting someone. Yeah, I don't blame you. And I wish I had a good answer for you, but I don't. And unfortunately, not everybody does the same level or quality of work. So sorry for that. Jeff Bricker, thanks. I need a drive shaft because I converted the 67 to a manual, ditched the C4 for a TKO 600 with hydraulic clutch. Nice. Yeah, we can work on it. I'll get with you on the sticker. Just email me, and we'll go from there. Yeah, that sounds. I did TKO, yeah. A few years back, Braddock 001, you gave me confidence to begin my own Mustang project. Thank you. Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's pretty awesome. Dave WM, I panic every time I think about a lift in my Z. Oh yeah, I've seen too many crushed frame rails. Yeah, yeah. I've watched some. I hate to use this term, techs at a tire center, um, working on it was a '68 California special car that was all kinds of customized. Had some, I mean, all kinds of stuff, frame connectors and all kinds of stuff done to it, and they were trying to take the wheels off, and it had some special wheels on it. It had the groove lug nuts, and the guy didn't have his tool, so they were sitting in there and they were taking a socket and beating a socket onto this thing with a hammer, trying to get his lug nuts off to change out. And it was the tires, and I was cringing at that. I was like, "Please stop! You know, come back, take your car home." I suggested to him he take the tires off of his car at his house, bring the tires back to the store, and let them swap them out. Don't let them touch your car like that. It was painful to watch. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Okay, now I get it. Run for ST is run Forrest. I get it. Forrest Gump. I like that better. Okay. Yeah, Dave. And it was a beautiful car. I posted some pictures of it somewhere on Instagram or something. Yeah, if you haven't seen, I have an Instagram, Joe Daddy's Garage, if you want to check it out. Um, I put a lot of pictures on there, different things, but yeah, I couldn't believe they were just abusing this guy's car, and he was an old guy. I mean, he was probably in his early to mid 70s, and they'd spent a ton of money on this car, and these clowns were just mishandling this thing, and I was just, oh, it was making me mad, but not much I can do. I don't work there, and I can't tell them what to do, you know, right or wrong. But it was bad. So Braddock, what kind of Mustang are you working on? You know, it's funny. I mentioned that Matador, and we had, you know, my dad's junkyard. You know, like 1,000 cars up there, and I probably mentioned this before. He would buy car. He had to have cars with a state sticker on them and say you could, you know, drive them. And my dad would go to the auction. And he'd buy these cars that were wrecked, but drivable, but wrecked, and bring them back because they had a good sticker on them. And he would put the, you know, the company license plate on, and we would drive those cars until they quit. So it, you know, several cars that I drove that were whole right side was smashed or pieces missing and stuff like that. Uh, I got all kinds of crazy car stories from the junkyard. But Jeff Bricker, do you paint cars for customers? If yes, I'm interested. Yeah, I mean I do the Brooklyn Pony. I'll paint it. Um, and typically I don't take on just a paint job type of car. Um, I do I don't I'll say I'm not painting isn't my favorite thing to do. I love sheet metal, you know, straightening things out, putting pieces on, welding it together, doing all the body work. I'm happy with all that. Um, but the as far as painting a car, I don't like to take on a paint project. I'd rather see it from start to finish, you know, myself fixing it. That way I know what's there and what's right and what's wrong. So typically I don't look at doing just a paint job. So hey Robert, Yep. I did a live session. Yep. Uh, Dave, probably nobody gets close to you driving those wrecks. Yeah, it would turn some heads. I will say that. So, Nick Anderson, hey Barry, thanks for all you do for us. How do you advertise these live streams? I never know about them until you surprisingly do them. You know, that's I've been fighting with. I'm not a tech guy. I struggle with making things work. If you watch the other live streams I did, they weren't that great, and this one probably still is not that great. Um, this I'm using a program called OBS and making it integrate. So I've been practicing a little bit, trying to make things work because I want it to be a good live stream. And so I finally got something figured out today, and I thought, well, I'll just do one and see how it goes. And so that's why I'm doing it. But I should probably schedule them, and I will try to figure something out on that. Sorry. Um, Run Forest. First car was a played out 72 Chevelle, then a 73 Nova hatchback with a 350 in it. Had a lot of fun in that car. I'll bet. Yep. Robert's asking about the Brooklyn Pony. Why did I take on the Brooklyn Pony? Well, because I like a challenge. Talked with the owner about it several times. It took us a while to figure out what we wanted to do. And we agreed to do the build. And so it was either I build it or you buy a body that's pre-built that you have to modify everything anyway, and then it's also just more of a challenge in the long run. So I decided it was a good challenge for me, so that's why I took it on. And you can see how it's come along. I think it's come along great. It's a fun project, and it's also the cool part I think about Brooklyn Pony, beyond the fact that it's such a cool project, is that car I'm able to give a lot of people more insight into how the cars are built or how they were built, what to look for as far as structure and all that sort of thing. So it's really working out as a great training or teaching device as well. And I think it's really helped people out that they can have that kind of information, because most people don't get that deep into a car or build from scratch basically. And so it's been a real cool thing, I think, for not only myself but also for a lot of people that are watching those videos. Gary White, cool backdrop, clean, clear picture, and audio. Good. Because I did go out and I bought an actual webcam, and that's the microphone I'm using. It's connected to that webcam. The backdrop is one of my flags that I talked about earlier. And I'm learning, I'm a dinosaur when it comes to tech. And I'm finally figuring out how to do good editing, or what I think is good editing. If you notice, the my early videos were a lot more choppy, I guess, and I think my latest, especially my last 10 or 12 or whatever. I think those of you who followed along, you can see what I feel pretty good about how the transitions, the information I'm putting into them. I think it's a lot better, and I'm really I'm not here to pat myself on the back, but I'm pretty proud of how I'm learning to make those videos better, not only for myself but for also the viewers. So Dave, the Brooklyn Pony is a clinic. Great work. Yep. Yes, Bob, it does have a clean title. You're darn tootin'. Yeah, you're right, Roger. Roger has known me for quite some time, as hindsight 67, and he knows that I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to challenges. So, Robert Arco, I see. Well, you're inspiring me on my 66 project, learning to be detailed, patient, and nothing is a problem. It's a project task. Yep. And that's just it. A lot of people want to have things happen instantly, like a microwave hitting a button. It's not going to happen. But the beauty of that is taking your time and understanding how things are built and how it was, how you can repair it. Now you know that it's done right, or it's, you can see how it will end up. So yeah, you always got to take your time on this stuff. Let's see. Run Forest, too bad not near me. Could help you with the tech stuff. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not tech savvy. I can say that all 100% honesty. Um, you give me a pile of metal out there, and I'll make you a car. You put me in front of the computer and say, here, find this and do that. I'm like, I've been watching videos on how to make the live stream work with this OBS program, and there's transitions that you can do, and I'm close to figuring it out, but I'm not really that close. Jeff asked, any video on replacing vert inner rockers? No, I don't have that. There's you can see on the Brooklyn Pony how, at least how that car is put together. So that might give you some insight, but I don't have any videos on that specifically. Nick Anderson, I emailed you the other day about the complete floor assembly for a 68 Fastback. I called Dynacorn. They have back ordered them for fitment issues. Do you think the TCI install you had to modify was a? Yeah, I lost the rest of your question. I don't know. I assume you're asking whether the TCI thing was part of the issue with that Dynacorn. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that in particular. I do remember your email though, and yeah, I don't know what the story is on the Dynacorn floor pans being back ordered, but hopefully they get it resolved. Oh, there it is. Have I heard of Thoroughbred GT and their floor? Would love your thoughts. Actually, I have heard of Thoroughbred GT. I have not looked at their floors, but I've heard really good things about them. And I don't know what their price comparison is, but my understanding is they take individual pieces and have their own jig and build their floor pans piece by piece, whereas the Dynacorn is built over in China or something. And so I have heard of Thoroughbred doing that. So again, I don't know the price comparison, but if it's close, I would probably maybe consider doing the Thoroughbred GT pans, just because I've heard good things. That's all I can really say. Leonard, doing the work on my Torino is going good thanks to your videos and how you show how to do it right. That's good to hear. Thank you, Leonard. Walker, hey man, I love your channel and you have been a great inspiration, and I love how much effort you put into your work. Well, thank you, Walker. I appreciate that. That's the whole point. I want to make sure that people at least have the information. If they want to take it on and do their own work, that's even better. But you see me work. I mean, granted, I have tons of experience, but I'm working in a little house garage, the home shop. I'm not in some fancy body shop somewhere. I'm doing it with my tools and my hands. So I feel like if I look at somebody else doing work, I figure if they can do it, I can do it. So hopefully that, follows through with the rest of y'all. Dave took shop back in the 70s, did arc and gas welding, nothing since. What do you think I should look into if I want to get back into some metal fab panels, MIG or TIG? Well, I'm a fan of MIG, but MIG is cheaper, it's quicker, less costly for materials, but it's also limited in how what you end up with as a finished product. I've only used MIG. Now I've trained with MIG and TIG and acetylene and stick weld. I've done all that. And at some point I may get a TIG welder, but I don't know that I can justify doing TIG welding on sheet metal, like quarter panels and stuff. I just don't know if that's a reasonable thing for me. So I'm going to default and say MIG. So, about all I can say on that. Corey, thank you, J Daddy, for your very good vids. I learned so much. Glad to hear that. I appreciate that. Gary, repainting an interior, dash door tops, pillars, going from blue to black. Would you ever recommend rattle canning after scotch pad and degreasing? The current original paint is in good condition. You know, I don't. There's some good rattle can paints out there. The difficulty you have with doing, I'm not going to answer that. The difficulty you have with, hold on a second.
Call from Della Soul.
Okay, I'm back. Anyway, there are some good rattle can stuff out there. The difficulty with spraying the interior stuff is if you use a base clear, then you've got to use a flattening agent, or to flatten out the clear. They sell the cans that are already pre-mixed in the colors that were the original colors. I know that's available, but I've had good luck with some Krylon that I've used. I think I used it on the '68 Mustang. I did the engine bay with it, and it looks great. And so I think I would be okay using a rattle can to spray the interior panels. Hope that helps. Walker, yes. I've always said that. Even as a kid, I would look at something and say, if somebody can do that, there's no reason I can't. It's just always been in me, in that mindset. And didn't matter what it was. And I still feel that way. I still look at everything that way. That's why I do my own sheetrock and smoothing of panels, or my own carpentry, or plumbing work, and all kinds of stuff. The only thing, there's very few things that I won't tackle. All kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of always been my attitude. Robert, hey Gary, dash and pillars okay, but on the door, kick panels and such, use steel wool gently and paint with lacquer will retain the texture. Okay, I'll repeat that. Robert Arco is saying, hey Gary, dash and pillars okay, but on the door, kick panels and such, use steel wool gently and paint with lacquer to retain the texture. There you go. That's Robert's advice on doing the panels. Hey Glenn, how's it going? Telstar, I have a '68 fastback with rust on the lower part of the rear quarter panels. Okay. Rear quarter panels, should I repair area or replace the whole panel? That's a tough one to answer as far as a '68 fastback. The difficulty, I know I pointed this out on the Mystique Mustang. They sell patch panels for the lower quarters. Somebody does. The problem is they don't match the original design. If you look at the quarter panels on those cars, typically they would come down, and at the very bottom it would kick back up and then flatten out and then flange back down and go to the trunk pan drop off. And the patch panels and some of the quarter skins, some of them they don't do that. They come down and just kind of roll in, and they don't transition very well. But if you're looking at just doing a section, like I did on a Mystique, I actually bought a skin that had the correct angles on it, and I cut off what I needed and pieced that in. So if you're looking at that, try to find a panel. If you have to buy a whole skin, consider it. But I would avoid those little patch panels unless they have the exact shape that you're looking for. So just consider that whenever you're getting into it. Hey Nathan, did you get that 68 running? Figured all out the wiring, get it running? Let's see. What's funny is, and I'm trying to figure this out too on the. I mean, the chat shows up here on my channel, and y'all can see it, and I can see it, but eventually, whenever this goes back into the archives, let's say, the chat doesn't show up anymore. And so I'm trying to work on it with that OBS program to where I can take that chat and put it in with the video. So basically, I could downscale the screen of what you're seeing, me just pointing and rambling, and I can put the chat on the side of it. So I'm trying to figure that out, and I'm not having the best of luck. Cool, Nathan. I know you're looking forward to hearing that thing run. I hope everything goes smooth. I was talking earlier about junkyard cars. The first Mustang that I worked on and kind of did a rebuild on, I think I talked about it in the previous video, was a 70 Coupe. It was a 6-cylinder, 3-speed manual car that was wrecked. And that car, of course, had a 6-cylinder, had 4-lug wheels, drum brakes, and I ended up converting it over to 5-lug. Had to rebuild the front suspension. Had to put a door, fender, well, the whole front clip on it had to be replaced. And I learned a lot of things. And I was only, I think, 16 when I did that. And I think I have a picture of it somewhere, or a couple pictures. But there was a lot to learn in that process. So that was the first true rebuild that I did as a teenager. Hey, ELSDP-45. Good to see you here. I should say thank you for watching. I need to come up with a better way to put all those letters into a name. Jeff Wall, you're a lineable? Oh, maybe likable? You got fat fingers like me, Jeff. Surprised you don't have a bunch of garage buddies. Your wife get rid of them? No, I just don't have a lot of people, around. Of course I do most of my work in the shop I'm doing during the week, and nobody else is around for sure. My regular job I work on weekends, so yeah, there's not a lot of interaction between getting stuff done out in the garage. Nick Anderson, how would you prep rusty pitted floor supports before welding on new floors? Just really pitted, not worthy of replacing. If you're talking about the down in the bottom of the floor supports, I mean, best you can do, if you can get a blaster in there, that'd be great. But if you can't, you got to wire brush and treat that inside. Now, there's different ways to treat. You've got the acids that you can put in there. In that floor support though, that would be one area you could probably get away with doing Pour 15. Brush it in there, get it all the way in the bottom. Don't put it on the where you're going to weld, obviously, but let that whole inner trough fill that, all the gaps and everything. Get Pour 15 down in there, then that should be fine. It's not going to, that'll keep all the weather from causing problems. Let's see. Nathan hooked the battery up tonight and tried. Bad fuse maybe. Yeah, it's possible. Might check your neutral safety switch as well, Nathan. Built through a Telstar. Okay. ELS DP. I don't want to get this wrong, but I want to say your name is Glenn. Am I wrong? I'll write it down somewhere, but you have to tell me if I'm wrong or not. You can do it too. Can you discuss treating very light rust chemically and any issues, treatments that should be taken so that you do not compromise adhesion of primers and additional layers? Glenn, and let's see. Actually, I did a brief video on 3X metal tree or Gary. It's Gary, not Glenn. See, that's why I didn't want to say it because I knew I was wrong. I was close though. I knew it had a G. I knew that. Sorry, man. You can do it though. There, I did a little thing. I think it was a vlog I did where I talked about some 3X metal treatment, and that was fantastic for doing some light duty stuff. And I can't think. I think it was a vlog though. I did kind of a walk around where I on the '68 Mustang, I treated the roof because it had all kinds of rust on it, and I have images of the products that I used. But the 3X stuff was incredible. You brushed it on, let it sit, rinsed it off, and it was like bare metal again. So light duty stuff, that stuff is awesome. So have a look at that if you can find that video. I'm sorry I don't have the reference in front of me. I don't want to swap out things here while I'm working on it. Glenn asked, have you used vinegar on rust? No, I have not. I've heard people using it, but I have not. Robert Arco says vinegar, Eastwood rust converter, or Eastwood rust encapsulator. Yep. Eastwood makes some very fine products. Leonard, I know what you mean about quarter panels. Got one from DBC and it was way off both the body lines and lower panel. Had to buy a used one. Yeah, they don't make great panels. Like I said, I knew it had a G in it, Gary. I knew. I get a lot of stuff going on. But I always appreciate your comments on my videos. I really do, honestly. I really thank you for that. Nathan did bump a starter and it does engage. Oh, okay. So at least you have that. That's a good sign. So what I was saying before about junkyard cars, one of the other cars that I drove was a Renault Le Car. And hey, there's Buck's Woodshop. Renault Le Car, if you remember those cars, they were called, or people would say in the U.S. Renault, but in French it was Renault, and it looked like they were about this big, and you could squeeze 4 people in them. And that was one of the other early cars that I drove. It had a top on them, and you could flip open. It was like a canvas-looking top that you could unsnap and flip the thing back, and there was like Velcro straps to hold it down. But it was just a tiny little car, and we had a fleet of those things. And my dad loved those things, and that was one of my other projects, other cars that I would drive. And that car was really good when I took it over the jump that I talked about earlier. It would really get some air. Robert Arco says, I use vinegar if I can soak stuff for a few days, like metal parts, etc., or like nuts, bolts, etc. For panels, frame rails are an example. For panels like frame rails, or for example, brake drums, I converted, and wow, the stuff is awesome. Well, cool. That's good to know. Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, I want to know if everything fires up when it starts, if it starts running for you. No, Robert, go ahead and answer the question. If you can answer, that's great. Glenn Williams, vinegar turned rust black. And Robert says, yes, will turn black because it is black oxide. Okay. And then what, Robert? You top coat that after you do the vinegar? What about Bob? My first car was a 74 Dodge Dart, 275 slant 6. I'm from Canada and it rusted to pieces. Yeah. But I'll bet you it was still running though. That 275 slant 6 was like almost impossible to kill. I know we had a Duster show up at the junkyard, and my dad bought it at the auction. And I don't remember the exact scenario, but I know that we unloaded it off the truck, put a battery in it, and fired it up. But the two center connecting rods had lost the ends of the pistons, whatever, and they punched out through the side of the block. And the slant 6, if you're looking at from the driver's seat, they lean to the right, and so there was this gaping hole that you could see like the guts of this 275, and it was still running. It was running on 4 cylinders, but it had these connecting rods slapping around through the holes in the side of the block. But otherwise, they're really hard to kill. Let's see. Nick says, he's asking Robert, how do you prep before painting? Water, wax, and grease removal, air gun. Robert says, wash with vinegar, light brushing, and good to go. Just treat it like a new metal parts. You might oil bolts, coat bigger parts. Okay. Jeff's asking, are you happy with the vintage air kit on 68? I need some AC. Florida's heating back up. I've installed a couple of different vintage air kits in cars. I did one on another 68 and the 70 Fastback. And of course my 68 I'm halfway done with it. But yeah, for the most part I'm happy with them. I do know that the 70 had some issues, the last one we did, because the controls were electronic and the owner wasn't real happy with how the switches responded when you move things around. I don't know if they've adjusted on that. That was several years ago. So I don't know if that's been corrected or if that's still an issue, but that's the only thing that I've heard of as far as having a problem with the vintage air. And that was just from our own experience. Will do, Nathan. We'll see you later. Have a good night. Jeff Wall, anyone recommend headers 351 Cleveland in a 70 Stang? That's a good question. Anybody out there can recommend a set of headers? You can do it. Ask great question or great suggestions on the rust. Just wondering, after treating with vinegar or converter, will these products affect adhesion? Well, I can tell you that 3X stuff that I did on the roof of the 68, it didn't affect anything, because it was like having raw metal with nothing on it, nothing, no issues. In fact, I sprayed that roof with epoxy, right? I left it dry for several days. I wiped it down with Windex, make sure there's no residue. I used a degreaser just to make sure there was nothing there, and then I sprayed it with epoxy, and I would not hesitate to do that again. Robert Arcos says, no adhesion issues. The encapsulator is equivalent to epoxy. They say top coat with anything. Oh, that's an Eastwood encapsulator, yeah. 265, got to go have a roll, duty calls, have fun. Oh, God, I have to go have it. Okay. All right, 265, we'll see you. Brian Beal, love the Mustang builds. Thank you. You can do it, you're welcome. Jeff Bricker, I like my Hooker Super Comp long tube headers, but for 351 Windsor, they fit decent. See if I have anything for your application. Glenn Williams, where can I get 3X? Do a Google search. I think I bought mine. I don't remember if I bought it at Summit or if I did a mail order like Amazon. But look it up. Just search for 3X Metal Prep or something like that, and you'll find it. Juan Andres, any updates about the Mustangs you have done and delivered? Baby Blue One and Mystique. Greetings from Uruguay. Well, hey, Juan, that's a long ways away. The light blue Mustang, I actually visited that family last year, and not much is done to it. He did finish rebuilding all the front suspension. The engine is rebuilt. There's a few odds and ends that he's taken care of, and other than that, it's sitting. So if he's watching right now, he knows he's guilty, and he needs to get his butt moving and get that car together. He promised my mom a ride in that car, and he's not followed through. So I'm going to give him a hard time about it if he's watching, and tell him he needs to get moving on it. As far as Mystique, it's still being worked on. I'm in contact with that owner, and he gives me updates and sends me pictures of what he's done and how things are going. So yeah, Mystique is getting worked on, and when it gets completed, I plan to go see it. Let's see, Jeff. I will say the headers that I put on my 68. Now that's a 302 engine, so I can't really make any claims for the Cleveland. They were from Summit, and I did a video on. I talked about it. The brand was Patriot. They were in a Summit box, but they were made by Patriot, and they fit that. And they probably all fit the 302 pretty easily, but they fit slick. Had no issues with them at all. So that's about all I can tell you on that. But yeah, I've had good luck with those. Okay, what about Bob? Can't wait for the next update video. Have a good night. All right, Bob. See ya. Robert Arco, thank you, Barry, and glad you were online. Hope to share my videos with you soon. I would like to see them. Jeff Bricker. Jeff, all my 69 Camaro headers were like that. Whoever installed them had no patience. Hammered up. Yeah. You know, it always bothered me that manufacturers, you would think, for all the effort they put into making a set of headers, that they shouldn't have the fitment issues. Like the engine, the cars aren't really changing. The frames, they don't change. The body doesn't change shape. You got like in the case of a Chevy, a big block and a small block. Okay. How hard can it be to have somebody bend up a set of headers or tubes and then match them? You know, you have your variables like your clutch or maybe some accessories, but really it's not that. It doesn't seem like it's that hard. So I don't understand what the deal is whenever somebody takes a hammer. And I admit I've had to do it myself, particularly on some Chevys where you can't get the spark plugs in and out. It's like, what? Did they not think about spark plugs when they were making these headers? I mean, I don't understand it. You'd think for all the investment they have, they would make some good, good products. And now, granted, you pay whatever high dollar for a set of headers, they better fit. I'm not going to put on an $800 pair of headers if things don't line up. They're going to get them back. I'm not going to beat on them. So. Yeah, you're welcome, Mike. I think we've communicated a couple times in the past. Maybe one of these days I'll come up there and make a video of your shop. I think you had a Jeep. Is that right? I'm pretty sure that's what it was. We talked about paintwork on a Jeep years ago, a couple years ago. I think. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Oh, that's something else. I've been in contact with the guy who took on the 55 Chevy truck project. If you go back in my videos from several years ago, you'll see that 55 Chevy truck that I did a ton of sheet metal work to. It was a small back window truck. I converted it to a big back window, put new fenders on it. We did all kinds of custom stuff to that truck. Um, that truck ended up leaving the shop unfinished, and it was taken on by uh, an older gentleman who has been doing body work and stuff for years. And the truck has changed directions a little bit as to how it was, originally laid out, but the truck is finished, and we can. I'm going to go over to his place, his shop, and make a video of that '55 Chevy truck. I've had a lot of people asking about that thing. What's the status of it? Did it ever get finished? All these different questions, and it is finished, and it will be going back to the owner probably in the next couple of weeks. He's got a couple small things he's got to take care of, but hopefully I can get that video made and get it posted very soon. And I've seen pictures of it, and the truck is gorgeous. I don't know if I have pictures available in front of me or not. Let me just see if I can pull up what I maybe can show you one. But anyway, just letting you know that's coming. Yeah, that might work. See if that'll show up on there. Can't. There's a delay between the camera and what I'm able to show you. So, yeah. Anyway, that's coming, and you'll get to see a video on that. So there's your teaser for a video that's going to be put up pretty soon. See, Mike, I remembered the CJ7. I remembered it was a Jeep. Cool. I'm glad that helped you out over the. I think it's been a couple years, probably 2 or 3 years since we talked on the phone, I think. But I do remember the Jeep. Anyway. Any other thoughts, questions? I hate having dead space. Jeff is asking about wraparound or header wrap. He's asking if it destroys the headers. I have not had experience with that, so I don't have a good answer for you on that. Sorry. Brian's asking, what's the best way to measure when installing full aprons on a 67 Mustang? Best way to measure? Well, ideally, you want to do a crisscross to make sure you're square. I've shown that in some of my videos, and the tricky part is finding a good reference point from like the A-pillars, somewhere in that zone that you can cross over and match up to existing holes or corners where the aprons and the core support meets. Typically, that's your best thing. Secondly, if the aprons are a full apron, I'm assuming you're implying it's a solid piece, not two pieces. So if it's a full apron, you're not going to be able to change that length anyway once the firewall, if you're butting up against the firewall. So that length is going to be preset. And then if you're doing two pieces, well then it's best if you have a previous measurement, if you can have that at all. But if you can't, then do like I did with the Mystique. Mount the fenders, get them in the best place you can. Everything's clamped up, clamp all your sheet metal, set the fenders, lay the hood in place, check your gaps, check your width, all those different things before you do any kind of finish welding. And so you gotta have a bunch of vice grips, But if you can clamp everything in place, ideally measurements are important, but if you're I'm more concerned with how the fenders fit the car than I am saying, well, this is within a 32nd of the original measurement. Because your fender, unless you're using truly an original fender with an original piece here, even that may not line up. So I always default to the panels that I'm working with and try to make those fit the car as best I can. And that's, to me, those are always your best reference, being able to mount all the panels in place. Juan asked, Barry, do you have any experience using dustless blasting for paint stripping? I have not, or I do not have any experience. I've heard great things about it though, so I would not, if it was within my budget, I would probably do it, but I have not tried it. But again, I've heard just really good things about the dustless. So. Stephen is asking, what brand model of MIG welder do you use? Well, currently I'm using a Lincoln 140T. And it's a 110 or 120 volt welder, and it'll handle just about anything that I've been working on, up to even welding the frame stuff on that on Mystique. Just have to use a heavier wire and turn up your amps. But that welder is, I've put a lot of wire through that welder. And prior to that, I had a Miller-Matic 140, and I think I wore that thing out. And rather than spending money to fix it, I bought this Lincoln. And really, the only reason that I bought the Lincoln was a guy had bought it and had the aluminum spool gun and everything with it, and he needed some money, and so he sold it to me very cheap, and that thing has been fantastic. Been a good welder, so I'm pretty happy with that. JR, I'm building a 67 Mustang with a semi-performance 200 inline 6 with a 5-speed manual. I'm not an auto body person, and your videos have really helped me along the way. Cool. That's good to hear, JR. That sounds like an interesting build. I don't know if I've seen an inline 6 with a 5-speed. That's a good twist. And you say semi-performance, are you going to put a 4-barrel intake on it or anything, or do something cool? Maybe, I think they offer a 3-deuce intake. Or are you just going to do some cam mods or something like that with it? Jeff says Lincoln 210 MP works pretty good. Yep. Just about, of the brands, obviously Miller is going to be pretty much at the top of the rung, and Lincoln's pretty close. Hobart, you've got these other companies that follow. And, the Millers, a lot of the new stuff, they've got electronic settings in them that it can read, kind of senses what you're welding and can adjust amperage to make it weld better. Now, it takes away some of the artwork of a welder who can adjust his style to make it weld better, or do the hand adjustments. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different animal when it comes to welding technique. I think that Miller I had before the Lincoln, it had some sort of smart thing built into it, and that may have been why I ended up getting rid of it. I can't remember exactly what failed, but it was expensive to repair, so I think that's why I may have ditched that thing, but I don't remember. I'm going to try to say this name. Now, I know it's got a little accent on the A, so I know it says Damien, unless it's Damian Amarante. Hey, Joe. Damien from Uruguay 2. Yes, Juan's friend. I own a 70 coupe that has been hit in the front. How can I be sure that my towers are in the right place to ensure alignment later? Uh, that's a good question. I know there are. I know that there are some build sheets online, and there are manuals that can give you some references to that. Um, the difficulty is how hard was it hit? Are the frame rails pushed up or back? Does it hit sideways? There's a lot of variables to a front end hit. Unless it hit perfectly square, you may have some push to one side or the other. Um, ideally, and I hate to say this, but the best answer is if you can find somebody who has one and measure that one to verify the location of your towers. Um, I don't have a quick reference that says check this out and go to this site and this has the information you need. Um, there's been a lot of debate over some of the pictures and stuff that have been posted about whether the measurements are correct for the subframe or the unibodies. I know there's been some debate on those over the years, but I always try to default to if I can find an original one that I know has not been damaged, I'll measure that one and make that my reference point. I should probably have developed a notebook of some sort that shows, the history of stuff that I found, but I tend to focus on a project, get it done, and move on to the next one. So Glenn is saying Campbell welder. I'm assuming you mean Campbell Housefield. Welder works good for me. Got it at Lowe's. Yep. I've heard good things about the new Vulcan welders they're selling at Harbor Freight. I've heard really good things about them, and I feel like if my Lincoln were to die, I would consider buying one of those Vulcans from Harbor Freight because you can get them with MIG and TIG, and I might at some point consider doing that, but I'm not going to spend the money until something else dies. Noah is asking, how is your Harbor Freight plasma cutter doing? Have you had any problems with it? Noah, I think if you haven't seen it, I did a video on it just a couple weeks ago. I did a review video on that plasma cutter, and I've had no issues with it. Other than the consumable tips, burning out, which is normal, I haven't had one problem with that thing, and been very happy with it. And I've cut up a lot of stuff with it, and so yeah, I've been very happy with that Harbor Freight plasma cutter. Nick Anderson, I think you sold the the Fire Bronco. I did. What would you think about doing? What would you think about doing a Bronco for the channel? That's a consideration, but I don't know what my timeline will be. I have, the current Mustang project, and then the Chevelle that's supposed to be coming next, and then I have to decide what I want to approach because I need to get my own cars done, which I can still do videos on, but I have some of these for customer cars that I've already committed to. So I may have to just pause on any kind of customer work and finish up. I need to get the basket case Camaro sheet metal done, and then probably sell that thing as a roller. And then I've got to get the 68 Mustang together. And then I still have a 68 Buick that's sitting there waiting for my attention. So I have plenty of my own projects as well. But you never know what might come across my door or come into my shop. Damien, thanks a lot, Joe. The hit was hard. We know that because the cowl and the firewall up into the tunnel shows the impact a little. I'll do the measurements on other car then. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty solid hit if it transferred all that energy all the way up into the cowl. Yeah, that's going to be some work. Might check your A-pillars too. Yeah, I've seen it to where the A-pillars could bow a little bit, but compare those as well. If it's that deep, you're going to have really have some problems getting things back together. But have a look at it. JR, the 200 has a larger intake which holds a 2-barrel carb pretty good and a larger cam with dual exhaust headers. Should be a nice cruiser. Yeah, it should be. That 70 coupe that I was talking about earlier, it had a 200 inline six with a header on it, and I think it had a 2-barrel carburetor, 3-speed manual, and it was a fun little car to just drive up and down our old country road. But that's as far as it ever got. Never got back on the road. I think there's some pictures. I know there's some pictures of that on my Joe Daddy's Facebook page somewhere. So if you haven't checked that out, you can check out my Joe Daddy's Garage Facebook page. I post a lot of pictures of projects and the like the Mystique Mustang, the Brooklyn Pony, the light blue Mustang. There's hundreds of pictures on there of those cars in process. Same way as the Frankentruck, all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't checked it out, go check that out. And like I said before, I also have an Instagram, Joe Daddy's Garage, and I try to post pictures on there all the time of projects or stuff that I'm working on. So you can check that out too if you like. There's a bunch of, I know there's a bunch of Brooklyn Pony pictures on there. So anyway. Okay, Damien. Sounds good. Now, I'm going to ask a question. I've got 34 people watching right now, and I don't know how many people have watched over the course of this hour and 47 minutes I've been on here. I assume you like these live chats. I hope they're beneficial. I'm debating on whether I want to have a scheduled event to where it's, I don't know, maybe every Wednesday, at 7 o'clock or something like that. But I'd like some feedback on that, whether it's here or later on whenever I post the video to YouTube. And, as I'm trying to improve and get more knowledge out there and get people more involved with their projects, I want to make sure I'm doing it in a way that is beneficial for everybody. At this point, I'm sitting at home. My wife is at work. My dog is right in the living room, just laying around being lazy. And I would rather do this, honestly, than to sit there and watch TV. At least this way I can try to get, some back and forth going on with people and, get some information going. And it's nice to hear from you. So. Glenn says, weather is getting good. Time to get stuff done now. Yep. You're absolutely right. And I am working on a pony. I know the last video I did with that Mustang Stafir set up on it, that went pretty well. I'm still, grinding welds and smoothing stuff out and verifying that everything's in place where it needs to be as far as, finish. Like if I've welded something and I grind it down and there's a little hollow spot, I'll go back and re-weld that, smooth it up. But there's more to come on that. I've been starting to put the suspension back together as an example, like the A-arms. It's putting the pivot rods back in, putting the ball joints back in. So I'm working on that as well. I would like to get everything put back together and get it on the ground. I really would. I want to get it off of that body cart. And that's something else I need to figure out. The owner and I have talked about it some. I know he was looking at getting obviously some custom wheels for it. And so we're trying to figure that out as well, because it's one thing to buy a set of wheels, but sorry, my dogs are wandering around. But it's another thing to make sure they fit right. And uh, so we're trying to figure that out. Like I said, he's wanting me to get a hold of a set of wheels and test fit them on the car, and so that may be um, something I have to do because it's hard. You can do all the measuring and stuff you want, but until you actually have some wheels or stuff in your hands and test fit them, it's really hard to verify that everything is correct. Yeah, Brian, still cold in Illinois. Yep. Yeah, I saw where it was supposed to be like, what was it, out in Colorado? It was like 70 degrees or something yesterday and snow today. Having some crazy weather. It's been more. It's warmed up here in Georgia. I can tell you that. Um, Stuff is growing. JR board a scheduled chat would be great. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Um, like I said, once I post this, um, I'll expect maybe to have more feedback. And if you can, whether it's this video or my other videos, I have almost like 14,000 subscribers, which is just still amazes me, and it's awesome. But with YouTube metrics and how everything works, those thumbs up mean something. And if you like the video, man, give it a thumbs up, or a thumbs down. I've got several people that like to put a thumbs down on everything I do. I don't know why, but that's their own. That's their own issues, whatever it is. So if you can, like I said, give me a thumbs up, share it, all that stuff. It all helps and makes things better for me and helps me make better videos for you. So, Nick Anderson, thanks, Barry. Have a great night. Let's get the next live stream on the schedule. Okay, sounds good. KCFX, KC3FSX. Yeah, Nick. I'll just say Nick. Smash that thumbs up. Yes. Brian, Bill, I'd watch. Or I'm assuming you mean I'd watch if I did a regular schedule. Eduardo Martinez. Your videos are very helpful. I just purchased a 67 Mustang convertible last summer and will be working on it as soon as the weather cooperates. I'm looking forward to more videos. That sounds awesome. 67 convertible. Yeah, I will say out of the sorry, I like the 67 and 68 cars, just because they're a little bigger. So that's just my preference. So yeah, 67 convertible sounds really cool. Steven, what's your advice on rust pits to get the rust out of the pits? Have a 79 Trans Am where the sail bird decal it pitted under that decal. Yeah. I mean, I assume you pulled the decal off. So the next step is to either sand it, depending on how pitted it is. There's also, we talked about it earlier, some rust treatments, the 3X stuff that I've used. I've showed a video in one of my vlogs, I believe, about that stuff. There's different, we talked earlier about vinegar. Some people have used vinegar. Rust encapsulator, different things out there. But depending on, you said get the rust out of the pits, a wire brush is going to be your best bet as far as breaking stuff loose, and then obviously getting it to stop rusting. So, like I said, that 3X stuff I used was pretty good. You can Google that. And then the other than that would be the etching materials. Double R. I've enjoyed the stream. I have been listening while working in the garage. Well, that's cool. Hopefully, I'm not leaving too much dead space for you, man. I'm trying to keep it going. Just with it just being me and my dogs running around. I kind of have to think about what I want to say or keep things moving. I enjoy having the questions though. Okay, I don't know how to say that name. I'm going to try it though. Gudmundur Eiffels. Okay. I don't know if that's a real name or if that's something you made up for YouTube, but keep those videos coming. I'll have to live vicariously through this channel since my project is going on hold for some time. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you're enjoying my videos. I really am. I mean, I mentioned it before. I still find it amazing that here my little home shop and all the subscribers and people literally from around the globe um, are watching the videos, and I think that's really cool. And it's still hard for me to kind of imagine that. William, hi. Any comments on cutting the shock towers on a Mustang or Fairlane? I know it says reeking the frame rails when using TCI front suspension. I saw you use the rail kit. Any comments on cutting the shock towers? So I assume you're asking about removing the shock towers to use the TCI suspension. They're really not that complicated. I know there's an internal flange on the frame rail, and then when it drops into the frame rail, there's some flanges in there, and you just got to kind of grind them off and work your way out of that. There's really not a lot holding those things in when it comes down to it. So, Jeff Bricker, whoever puts a thumbs down on these excellent videos probably couldn't even change a tire. Thank you for your videos. Have a great night. Well, thank you for that comment, Jeff. Yeah, I don't know. I often wonder what's the agenda for some people if they just have something personal going on, or I don't know if I'm not explaining something well enough. I actually have some people complain that I talk too much, or they want to just see the work, and I don't think that's I don't think that's fair, because some people need to have instruction. They need to have terms. They need to have my finger pointing, as Tim would say, at stuff. And that's What's Up Guy Garage. If you don't know, if I'm pointing at stuff, if you haven't checked him out, check out his channel too. What's Up Guy Garage. But anyway, some people need to have that kind of instruction, and some people don't. But I'm not going to default to the people that don't need the instruction. I want to help out the people who need the most help or guidance. It's like my background is vast. I mean, I've worked on so many different types and makes and year models of cars. Generally, if somebody points at something to me and says, "Hey, I need you to change out this alternator," okay, fine. But then you have somebody else who's never held a wrench, and you're trying to show them how to make something happen. You don't just say, "Well, pull the wires off and yank it out." So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I like to explain things. Classic car overhaul. Thanks for the live stream and the videos. I've learned a lot watching your videos. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Classic car overhaul. I've watched some of your videos too, and I like your logo. And you've done some good videos too. Let's see, Brandon. I love watching you build these Mustangs. I am a Mustang enthusiast myself. Just curious if you have any idea what the next project will be. Actually, it should be, I think it's a 68 Chevelle SS. That should be the next thing coming in. Original 396 4-speed car, and I think that's still on the schedule. So that should be coming up. It'll be this year sometime after I get the Brooklyn Pony put back together and finished. So, David, greetings from Alaska. Well, greetings to you. I went to Alaska last year, or was it? Yeah, it was last year. Yeah. From my wife and I had our 25th wedding anniversary, and I surprised her with a cruise to Alaska with 3 other couples, and that was a lot of fun. And we went up to Juneau and Skagway and had some great food and good times. And Alaska is an amazing state. If you haven't been, go check it out. It is amazing. Glenn Williams, you're good. Thanks for helping me. You're welcome, Glenn. Oh, there's a new name. Greetings from Brazil. Let's see, Ayrton. I'm going to give up at that. I don't know the second name. Cardoso. Ayrton. Well, thank you for being here, Ayrton. And it's nice to know that somebody from Brazil is watching my videos. Again, it's a small world, man. It's a small world. The YouTube thing, the internet, all this stuff has made the world very, very small. Whenever I can sit here, and I actually wish there was a way that I could communicate better than just having to read a chat. I like to have interaction with people, and it's really hard for me. I don't mind talking and expressing myself, but I would like to hear from people directly. It's kind of makes it better because I'm just sitting in my little room, just feel like I'm talking to myself. But anyway, the world is small, and it gets smaller every day. So, oh, looks like I've had some messages retracted. Okay. Juan asked, what TV shows about cars you enjoy the most? Honestly, I don't really watch a lot of those kind of shows. I get frustrated. I do like Counts Customs. I like the cool work that they do. There's been a couple others that I've watched. It was interesting to watch the Gas Monkey stuff, but the Chip Foose show was probably the best overhauling because it had more of a storyline to it. But I get frustrated because I see them doing things and telling customers things and throwing ridiculous prices to people, and I get frustrated. I get angry watching some of those shows. I love Jay Leno's Garage. I think Jay Leno is an awesome car enthusiast. I don't think you can ask for a more serious car enthusiast than Jay Leno. And I've said it before. If I could make a living working for Jay Leno, I would go work for Jay Leno. I would quit everything I do right now and go work for Jay Leno, just because of his love for cars and his dedication to them. I think it's just fantastic. So I know it's not the best answer, but that's kind of where I'm at. Tim, all my thumbs down guys showed up. Awesome. Well, at least he's not, in a hospital somewhere. I mean, he's still alive. That's good. I don't want him dying. I'm glad he showed up. That's cool. Gustavo, Joe, you do great work. Thanks for vids. I have learned so much. Keep up the great work. I am working on a 64.5 Mustang Coupe from Hammond, Indiana, 20 minutes from Chi-Town. Cool. That sounds really cool. Original 64.5. Good. David, congrats on the 25th anniversary. My wife and I just hit 27 years. That's awesome. Yep. Seems like only yesterday sometimes. Yeah, I'm really happy with 25 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 25 years. Be perfectly honest, I am. I'm very happy. JR asked, what's your dream car? I don't think I can say I have a dream car. I've been around so many cars, and there's so many cars that strike a chord with me that I could probably write out a list. A 69 or 70 Mach 1 would be high on the list. A 67 Plymouth GTX would be high on my list. 66 Chevelle. I love the looks of the 66 over the 67. That's just my preference. 63 Impala. 62 Impala. 61 Bubble Top. I mean, you can't go wrong. Those are beautiful cars. Um, you could easily go into, I've had a 69 Camaro. I've had my 55 Chevy. Um, I like Studebakers. They built some amazing cars. I would love to have a 53 Commander, two-door hardtop. Uh, so anybody that has one of those they want to give me, I will take it off your hands. Um, a 59 Lark, just because it's such an oddball looking car, I think it's really cool. Um, the what else was there? Studebakers. Um, it, it's really just hard for me to pinpoint any particular car in time. You could say, "Oh, I'd love to have a Superbird." Well, would you really love to have a Superbird? Because I know I couldn't drive it anywhere. I mean, the car's 27 feet long. At least it feels that way, and I'd be worried about it getting in a wreck. Um, I can't say this is my dream car. I really can't. Go back in history, some old Duesenberg. I just love the mechanics of those Duesenbergs. They were just a fantastic car. You were talking back in the 30s when they were putting superchargers on these things, um, and how technology has advanced and changed how cars operate and drive. So I don't really have any particular. This is it. I can't say that. I would have to have a whole bunch of dream cars. Brian Beal, my dad and I have a 1970 El Camino SS factory SS big block 4-speed black on black. Yeah, you don't see those every day. Um, is it a 454 car? I'm assuming it is. I think that was the first. Oh, I don't know if that was the first year for that car. I was saying earlier about somebody asked me about TV shows, and it's funny you mentioned that El Camino because um, there was a show on that Jesse James had, and Jesse James is a heck of a fabricator. I mean, I'll give him. He can build just about anything he wants from scratch, and he had a TV show on called Monster Garage. It was pretty stupid. Basically, it would give him a concept of we need a. They built a Mustang that they could mow with. Took a Mustang and put mowers on it and stuff. It was just ridiculous stuff. But I quit watching that show because this was years ago. They had an original El Camino SS that they bought at a cruise in, and it was completely original car. And they bought it off the guy, and then they laughed about how they were going to destroy it to turn it into some piece of junk. I think they actually turned it into they raced it or something on a figure-8 oval or something. But what really irritated me was they took this El Camino and they stripped it, and they had the piece of glass, driver's side door glass, and Jesse James holds this thing up and he looks at it. He says, "See that right there?" And he's pointing to the original stamping or etching on the glass that it was, for that something a restorer is looking for is that original glass, and it was a green tint too. And he said, "See this?" And then he tossed it and smashed it on the ground and laughed. And I said, "That's it. I'm done." Because I don't care if you cut up a car they made a million of, but when you start butchering up classics for a TV show and you destroy basically irreplaceable pieces of material, that's not a show. That's ridiculous. And so I quit watching that show altogether. Anyway, that's my little rant on that TV show. Julian, you do a great job. I've learned a lot from watching your work. I'll give you a thumbs up too. Thank you. Glenn Williams, they have more money than sense. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, some of the stuff. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, they built like, I don't know, what is it, how many million Model Ts, you know, or Model As, but over the course of time they got scrapped or sacrificed for the war efforts. You know, they would haul in scrap metal for weaponry and stuff, and you know, like I have that 31 Model A. That was my grandfather's car. I could not envision myself pulling that thing apart and turning it into a hot rod. Now, some people have no problem with that, and ultimately, it's probably not that big a deal. Um, you know, if it was a one-off special edition, I'd be really, really upset with somebody destroying an original car like that. But if it's already had some issues or something else has happened to it in the course of his life, it's not that big a deal. But again, they made millions of those vehicles, and you know they're still pulling them out of barns. I see videos of or people post stuff on some of the Facebook pages I'm on, and they'll show them pulling out a 1930 Model A or 28 or 29. It's been sitting in somebody's literal barn for 30, 40 years, and they don't plan on cutting it up. They plan on fixing it. So I think that's commendable in that respect. But anyway, well, it's been 2 hours and 12 minutes, and I think I'm going to wrap this up. Not seeing any more questions, and that's okay. But I think I might see if I can make this I guess maybe a weekly event. And again, once this is posted, I ask people to respond to it. If you want to see this, see me sit here and talk to myself every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, I'll do it, you know, at least for now. And I may not be able to do it every Wednesday, but I can at least try to plan it that way. So I want to thank you all for watching. For those of you that have commented and you know, gave me thank yous and whatever, I appreciate all that. Check out Double R Restorations. Go to his channel, and then check out What's Up Guy Garage. Check out Classic Car Overhaul, I think is his name. He posted earlier. Let's see if I can pull that up. Classic Car Overhaul. I know that's what it is. Check him out. And yeah, that's what it is. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Quick question from Gustavo. Joe, I haven't seen videos on door skins, or do you just replace the whole door shell? I typically just do the whole shell. Skins can be difficult, so I haven't done anything of those on the Mustangs. Hey, Rocket Surgery, sorry you missed it. Yeah, Richard, I think I should be able to do next Wednesday. I will look at my calendar and try to post a schedule should be next Wednesday. So it's been fun, but again, I'm going to wrap this up. And so again, thank you for watching, and you know, give me a thumbs up. Let me know, or a thumbs down. You know, we got the thumbs down guy. He loves to give me thumbs down. It doesn't hurt my feelings. But again, thanks for watching, and we'll get back with you another time. See ya.